Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to both of the witnesses for being here today. And Ms. Charles, good to see you from South Carolina. I wish it was under different circumstances, but certainly always happy to see a South Carolinian representing our nation. It's been nearly a month since the outbreak of the hostilities in Sudan. Since then, we've seen ceasefire after ceasefire fail. Hundreds of thousands have fled their homes. Nearly 600 have been killed, 5,000 injured, figures that are likely underrepresented. Hospitals have been attacked, medical care is scarce, access to food and water is quickly running out. In a country plagued with sectarian strife and humanitarian crisis, the situation seems to be only getting worse. All of this is the direct result of two selfish men and their desire to keep power really at all costs, it seems to me, at the expense of their own people, propped up by, in part, the inadequacy of the U.S. policy. Apart from the loss of civilian lives, I'm greatly concerned about the risk that further instability in Sudan can cause to regions beyond it. I'll start with the easy question, Ms. Newland. How did we get where we are, and how do we bring the conflict to an end, particularly not with one strong man, but two strong men who overthrew the powers that were?
Thank you, Senator Scott. Without going back through decades of tragic history in Sudan, I will start with where we were after Hamdok was ousted and our efforts with our international partners to support the Sudanese people in creating a larger process that included more Sudanese civil society, more of their civilian voices in this framework arrangement for a transition, which was painfully negotiated among them, and then months and months of effort, which was, we felt, bearing real fruit to get to that democratic transition, particularly in the fall and throughout the winter. We were, as I said earlier in this hearing, down to literally one issue, the one that you identified, whether these two generals would agree to unify their forces. And we were in the process of offering various options for how that could happen along with our international partners. We were concerned because tensions between them would flare on and off. And then we had the very disappointing choice on April 15th for them to pick up their guns rather than continue with the talks, and that's how we got where we are. What are we doing now? We are, first and foremost, focused on trying to get them to put those guns down long enough and well enough so that Assistant Secretary Charles and colleagues can get serious humanitarian aid in. We are now on our 6th, 7th short-term ceasefire, which is a direct result of the international pressure that everybody's putting on them, including more than 12 phone calls to the parties by Secretary Blinken himself. So what we're trying to get done in Jeddah now is to negotiate a declaration of commitment to protect the civilians of Sudan that would be agreed by both of the warring parties to open corridors and follow humanitarian principles on the ground in Sudan. That's stage one. Stage two would then be to try to make this ceasefire enduring. And stage three would be to get back to a civilian-led process, probably with a broader contingent of civilians involved than we had the last time. It is extremely difficult, as you noted.
Yes, ma'am. Quick thought on evacuation plans for Americans and the challenges that we seem to face. I'd say if you look at the fact that France was able to evacuate 500 people in the first 48 hours, Germany about 700 people, China about 2,000, all before the U.S. even started to support the evacuation efforts of American citizens. My thought is, why? And second is, as I think about the South Carolinians in Khartoum who've been calling my office asking for assistance, there seems to be no actual plan that they've received from the State Department, so I'd love to hear what happens next and how do we do a better job of helping our American citizens who want to leave. I think your microphone went off, ma'am.
After the initial evacuation of the embassy,
Yes.
we were able to support our allies in establishing a beachhead at the airport. More than half of the Americans who got out, as we've determined through the math at this hearing, we got 1,300 Americans out altogether. More than half of them went on those Allied flights in the first few days while we were working in a division of labor, if you will, on the land routes, we were able to get another 700 people out through the land routes, including some of our allies in exchange. We are continuing to give advice to any remaining Americans. You know, sometimes at the beginning of an evacuation, people aren't ready or they are not sure about their family circumstances. So we have continuing advice to Americans who want to come out now. If you have constituents, please send them to us, and we will work on it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Booker.